Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jordan KOUGH, the Executive Director of the Disability Rights Legal Center, and I'm here to welcome you in for an afternoon of celebrating some of the amazing work that the Disability Rights Legal Center has been doing for the last year on behalf of people with disabilities. In a world that seems to be changing every single day, I'm honored to be working with advocates, lawyers, volunteers, and more whose commitment remains unchanged and unwilling to bend to the pandemic, COVID, or fighting for the rights of people with disabilities. I came to the DRLC to join an organization that was fighting on the front lines of one of the biggest challenges in our society. And the more I learned about the work that the DRLC is doing, the more I truly learned that this is one of the most critical civil rights movements that are going on in our society today. There are many other civil rights battles that are worthy of attention and funding and support. But few get as little as attention as the disability rights community does, and often conversations as they relate to the implementation of the ADA or supporting individual disabilities and their rights are often shed in a negative light. So each year we want to try and take a moment to remember all the good things that are happening during these fights for people with disabilities and encouraging and supporting and creating inclusion and access for their rights. And our hope is to share with you what's happening on the ground each day at the DRLC. We're here to highlight some of the amazing work and stories that are being done in this space, and we hope you're inspired and considering making a donation to the DRLC to support our work, and most importantly, enjoy what I hope is our final virtual event. We look forward to seeing everybody in person again in 2022. And so in that vein, I want to start this afternoon by introducing you to our outgoing board president, Joseph Lee. He's been our fearless leader for now 6 years, and he's helped us through tremendous challenges, including the pandemic, including some serious staff changes, including my tenure and as coming on as executive director. And Joe is a tremendous attorney. He's a partner at Munger, Tolles & Olson, and perhaps even more importantly, he's a tremendous friend to me personally. Joe and his colleagues have been doing amazing work in 2021. They've been helping on multiple matters that the DRLC currently has open. And they've been tremendous pro bono partners. So we certainly want to thank them and highlight them in particular. So Joe, thank you for your work. Thank you for all that you've done. And for those of you who are watching online, please join me in welcoming Joseph Lee.
My name is Joe Lee, and I've had the privilege of serving as the president of the board of directors of the Disability Rights Legal Center for the last 6 years. I've been reflecting on how the world has changed during that last 6-year period. We've had global warming accelerate. We've had the Black Lives Matter movement. We've had intense polarization of our political process. And of course, we've had a global pandemic that's killed millions of people, 700,000 of them in the US alone. But there's one thing that's been a constant throughout this time, and indeed, if anything, has become even more important, and that's standing up, the importance of standing up for the least fortunate among us. The mission of this organization is exactly that, to stand up for the rights of people with disabilities, people whose rights tend to be forgotten and disregarded, particularly in times of crisis. And so there's never been a more important time, I think, in the last 6 years, or perhaps even in a much longer period of time than that, for an organization like the Disability Rights Legal Center to step forward and protect those among us who most need our protection. And of course, I speak of people like so many of us here tonight, like so many of our dear loved ones who have a disability and face the challenges that that disability creates. We're very grateful for your support. We're very grateful for your partnership in this important mission, in this important work. So thank you.
Thanks for those remarks, Joe. And, I want to highlight the importance of pro bono, not just from Munger, Tolles & Olson, but from all of our partners who have provided pro bono hours to us this year. It's been incredible support. We are We are honored by your service, and it's a huge part of the DRLC's ability to implement our mission. But I believe we've got a special message from our Director of Litigation, who heard that we were going to be mentioning pro bono early in tonight's FDR dinner. So I want to turn it over to our Director of Litigation, who wanted to share this quick message.
One really important thank you this year and every year is to our board and our pro bono co-counsel. Particularly this year, thank you, Board of Directors, for your support and your guidance, and for providing fantastic attorneys for us to work alongside with in our cases. We are all part of the same team. You guys are indispensable, and I want more of you. I need you to volunteer for a case, and I will find you one that is fun and meaningful, and we would just have a blast litigating together. So come join us.
Don't worry, you'll be hearing from Chris again, but I wanted to take a small moment before we move forward to recognize a special donor this evening. His name was Brad Goldberg, and Brad donated $5,000 to the DRLC this evening, but did so in Harvey Safferstein's name. And Brad reached out to Harvey's wife, who suggested that he make a contribution to the DRLC, make a contribution to the FDR dinner. And as many of you may already know, Harvey passed away in 2020, but he was a longtime board member of the DRLC. I believe almost 20 years of service on our board of directors. He was here for many of our highlights, many of our successes. He was the historian and inspiration, a leader, and all of the above. And so in honor of Brad's contribution, we wanted to pull a few memories that we heard from last year from a few individuals that shared with us what they thought about Harvey, and wanted to share those again briefly tonight in honor of Brad's contribution.
So what can I say about Harvey Safferstein? Harvey was an extraordinary lawyer, very well respected in the LA legal community, a tremendous asset to the organization.
What I'll remember about Harvey the most is his love for life, just his love for being around his friends and comrades at the DRLC, his love for his family, his general joie de vivre.
Candidly, he was always smiling, with one exception. And when he wasn't smiling, it's because I knew he was thinking. And whatever came next after that quiet moment where he was looking away and had dropped the smile from his face just momentarily, I knew it was going to be something that moved our mission forward.
He brought this tremendous sparkle to everything he did, and really made it a joy to do the work. Even when the work was hard, it was always joyous to do it with Harvey.
It's always touching to remember everything that Harvey brought to the DRLC and all that he did, and including some of that time was the start of the Cancer Legal Resource Center when Harvey was a member of our board of directors. And so it's my honor up next to be able to introduce Barbara SCHWERIN, who we're going to share some remarks that she gave to our professional panel earlier this year. It was our honor to welcome in Barbara, or welcome back in Barbara, who was the founder of the CLRC. And she shared a little bit about the history of the CLRC, why the mission's so important, and a little bit about the story of where that began on a webinar earlier this year for us. And the work of the CLRC is so critical right now. I'm so proud of what they've been able to do and what they've been able to accomplish. And it's my honor to share a little bit with you about some of that history and the story that Barbara shared with us earlier this year.
When I started the CLRC in February 1997, my first question was the dean right? Were there really legal issues faced by people with cancer? I contacted Dr. Harold Benjamin at the Cancer Support Community, the Benjamin Center. I had reached out to him when my brother was diagnosed and stayed in touch with him during that year. We then used input from a survey provided to their participants. The response was uniform. There were a myriad of legal issues that people were facing. These included employment issues, the continuum of what do I need to tell my employer? I'm suddenly getting negative employment evaluations. What are potential reasonable accommodations? What if my employer fires me? What do I need to disclose when going to a new company? Getting and keeping health insurance. When people hear about the cost of KOUGH, how then will they pay for it if they are no longer working? For many, it is probably the first time they realize how much their employer has been paying towards their coverage. Navigating managed care. Medicare, Medicaid, government benefits, state disability insurance if your state has this benefit, and possibly Social Security disability insurance, estate planning, family law issues, paying your mortgage or rent. And we use the input from the participants at the cancer support community to help design the CLRC. And one of the things we found was that some people, they never needed any more information. What they had just empowered them, and they were just so glad to have that, and it gave them peace of mind. But there were also people who needed more. And since we couldn't do legal advice, I reached out to a bunch of the people I had gone to law school with. Some of them may still be on your panel. Reached out to other people, colleagues. It went from friend to friend. If I needed somebody across the country, I would get in touch usually with somebody here who knew somebody on the other side of the country, or I had family there and I'd reach out to them and see if they could, knew somebody to provide assistance. So it just kind of grew and grew as we realized people needed more. And a lot of times the assistance was more just getting more information and getting more education. It did not necessarily go to a lawsuit or anything like that. It was just getting them what they needed to give them peace of mind and give them tools.
So a special thank you to Barbara for sharing that with us. The CLRC has continued to expand during the pandemic. Some of their work on webinars and outreach and more have been really genuinely significant this year. And you'll hear more later from the directors of the CLRC and a little bit about what they think has been important in terms of the work that has been done on behalf of the CLRC. So up next, we have our first award that we want to give out this evening or this afternoon. And in particular, this award is going out to a show that has been part of an organization or a studio that we have recognized in the past, Netflix. They've been a tremendous leader in representing the disability space authentically, giving room and access and inclusion to some of those writers, to some of those actors, to the stories. And we even recognized last year Judy Heumann, who was featured in the documentary Crip Camp, which you can also see on Netflix. And so this year we want to recognize a different show on Netflix called Atypical. And this has been a tremendous show. I don't know, for those of you who have or haven't seen it, I really encourage you to go and take a look. It is, it's a story about a young man growing up and enduring high school and early college stages and doing all that while being diagnosed with autism. And so when I first heard about this show, it was something that I wanted to see. There were some actors that I was really interested in seeing as part of the project. But one of the writers, the head writer, Robia Rashid, we've heard that she really leaned into this project because she had heard more and more about the number of people that are being diagnosed with autism, and she thought that there were truly authentic stories that could be shared from an important point of view in that process. And so one of the things that we really wanted to recognize Atypical for was not only authentically representing what that looks like on the screen, but taking a step to include other actors with disabilities. So congratulations to Atypical for their work and for being one of this year's DRLC awardees. And as they were not able to join us this afternoon, but we do have a special clip of 3 actors with disabilities that are also featured in one of these clips from Atypical. So we hope you enjoy.
It's nice we're all having lunch together. Should we go around and say our highs and lows for the day? I like doing that at meals.
My high is this grilled cheese. And I don't have a low. Never expose your weaknesses.
My high is that the girl who plays our center midfield fractured her tibia. So I'm off the bench. But that's also my low because she's my friend.
Sports?
Soccer.
I think one of the valuable lessons that Atypical taught me is that we're not all on this journey alone, that there are people that are like us, that there are people that are similar to us. And, honestly, the same is true with the DRLC. We are not the only ones working in this space. And if we were, we would be overwhelmed by the work. We would be overwhelmed by the challenge. We would be overwhelmed in a lot of different ways. And so our community partners are really part of the backbone of what we do. They might be an organization that brings us a partner in a critical disability rights lawsuit, or another cancer support organization that is referring individuals in California to the CLRC to reach new audiences, or an organization that trains service animals and ensures that people learn how to or are capable of training service animals on their own. And so next, what I'd like to do is share with you some of the stories of those partners, to share the importance of their work and share the importance of our work and our connections between all of us and what we're trying to accomplish.
We're a nonprofit disability rights law firm that was founded back in 2017. Once we got to the appeal stage, after we'd had a bench trial on the case, it was primarily focused on three main issues at the baseball stadium that the Seattle Mariners play in, T-Mobile Park, formerly Safeco Field, back when we first got started with the case. And so the three issues in that involve, the really big issue of sight lines to the field from the accessible seating on the 100 and 200 levels. And basically people with disabilities who are in wheelchairs in the back row not being able to see over the fans in front of them when all the exciting plays are happening. And then the other two issues involved in that case involved the basically the pricing arrangements for the accessible seating, and trying to make sure that people with disabilities had the same range of options to choose from and same price points to choose from, importantly. And then the third and final issue had to do with the actual distribution of the accessible seats, and basically having, again, comparable choices of where to sit on levels such as the 100 level, which is the main level of the stadium. And so the appeal was on those issues. So I couldn't be happier with the work with DRLC on this appeal. I think that they provided exactly the knowledge and support that we needed in order to have a successful appeal. That whether it was working on the draft filings in the case, overall guiding on strategy, and even just the mooting to prepare to do the oral arguments. And then, of course, connecting us with Munger on the amicus as well. And that I think that especially tipped the scales in favor of the ruling that we did get. And so, yeah, anytime we needed anything, TRLC was there and ready and willing to support.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel KOONSE, and I am the Virtual Program Manager at Cancer Support Community Pasadena. And I just wanted to hop on today to share a little bit about why CLRC means so much to our organization, CSCP. We have partnered with CLRC over the years a number of times, and they just remain such a valuable resource referral for our members, as well as a direct service for our members. We offer numerous educational workshops to our members on a variety of topics facilitated by professionals in the oncology field. CLRC is both a resource that I can send our members to, as well as a direct service that our members can access at CSCP. So to unpack that a little bit, often I'll refer our members to CSC when they have, or CLRC rather, when they have questions about employment law, about accessing healthcare benefits, about estate planning. I know that CLRC is a trusted referral that I can send them to. And then in terms of direct service, CLRC has facilitated numerous educational workshops for our members on various topics, such as the ones that I listed a few minutes ago, things like employment law, things like accessing healthcare. CLRC has presented for just our general member population. They've also presented for our Spanish-speaking members. They've presented for a survivorship program that we offer called Return to Wellness for women who have completed treatment for breast cancer. So they've really provided support to our members all along the spectrum of the cancer experience. And again, just such a trusted resource as well as partner. couple other things that I just want to share my appreciation for is the ease of access that CLRC offers. We've all witnessed during this pandemic the great digital divide that so many people face, lack of access to technology to participate in programs, lack of knowledge for how to use technology even when you have it. I love knowing that CLRC is one phone call away. So easy for people to access when they need support. And then, of course, just so appreciate that CLRC services are free of charge to the community. We know that cancer can bring along with it such financial toxicity. And knowing that CLRC services are free of charge is just such a wonderful benefit to our shared community. So thank you all for being here tonight to support CLRC, and CLRC CSCP so looks forward to the next number of years of collaboration. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, my name is Molly. I'm the Director of Operations and Programs at Atlas Assistance Dogs. We are a nonprofit organization that works with people with a wide range of disabilities to train their own service dog. There are a lot of barriers when it comes to obtaining or training a service dog. So everything that we do is aimed to dismantling those barriers. Some of these barriers include really high cost of training or high cost of purchasing a trained dog, really long wait lists to obtain a trained dog, or just lack of support, lack of trainers. It can be really hard to find someone to help you train your service dog. So we work with people who already have a dog and who want to participate in and who can participate in the training of their dog. We work with people with a wide range of disabilities and who train their dog for a wide variety of tasks. We also have an academy for professional dog trainers who want to become service dog trainers. And we do this to address the need for more service dog trainers, and more people need those resources. So that is our goal with providing that education. And there's so much more than just medical tools. They do so much more than just help someone function at a baseline. Yes, they provide essential tasks that are going to help the person, but it goes so much more beyond that. When it comes to disability rights and service dogs, it's so crucial. It's so important that not only service dog handlers understand their rights, but just that the public starts understanding service dog laws. And we really make sure that all of our clients understand their rights as service dog handlers and that they have the proper tools to navigate different situations, and to be able to advocate for themselves. Unfortunately, there are so many places and people that still don't understand this and that deny access to people and their dogs and that challenge them. And this is happening every day, and it can cause so much distress and burden and exhaustion and anxiety to the person having to advocate for themselves and having to just fight every day for their right to exist and their right to navigate the world. And on the flip side of that, there are unfortunately too many people who abuse the system and who try and go places with their untrained pet, claiming that that's their service dog. And then they're going into places and their dog is acting in a way that is really inappropriate or dangerous. And that gives service dogs a really bad name because they're claiming that their dog is a service dog and might have bought a vest or something like that. And that can make it even harder for the next person that tries to come into that business with their actual service dog. And it gets even harder for people with non-apparent disabilities because Someone looks at them and says, well, what's wrong with you? You look fine. You don't need that dog. And they don't believe you. So there's still so many things that people need to learn and understand, and some better regulations need to be put in place to protect the rights of service dog handlers and their dogs.
It's amazing to hear some of those stories. It's amazing to feel recognized and seen by other disability rights legal organizations. Of some of those comments in particular, when we're thinking about service animals and we're thinking about how to empower people with disabilities and how to be part of what they are, I think it leads to a perfect critical kind of nexus to what we're doing on our litigation team right now. And so it's my honor to introduce our Director of Litigation, KNAUF, who's here to share a little bit about what's going on in the litigation team. But I also think to share a little bit about some of the stories that cross over to what we just heard about service animals and Atlas dogs and more. So please welcome in KNAUF.
Hi, everybody. I'm Christopher Knopf, Director of Litigation at the DRLC. It's my pleasure to give you a little update on what we've been up to for the past year. As you can imagine, as I'm sure you yourselves know very well, the last year or two have been pretty tough. We've had to be adjusting our processes, the way we represent our clients, the way we interact to do our cases. Very proud of our team, the work that we've done, the way that we've been able to adapt to this new reality, and to represent our clients at all times with vigor and intellect and creativity and kindness. It's been tough for our clients. We've heard from a lot of folks how difficult it is out there in a variety of different contexts, one of which is the education context, both in terms of our special ed cases as well as higher ed. It's been tough for a lot of students with disabilities, and the DRLC has been there to help and improve the situations for individuals and for whole classes of students who need legal assistance to enforce their rights. One of our clients, Nicole, was a high school student with disabilities, worked very hard, completed her graduation requirements, but because of the failure of one particular teacher in terms of accommodations, Nicole was not allowed to graduate. Was not allowed to participate in the graduation ceremony with her friends and classmates. A devastating experience. And we held that educational institution accountable for their failure. We got the student's transcript changed, and we got financial compensation for what she went through. In another case, DRLC has brought in Portland, Oregon, through our former senior staff attorney, Brendan Hammy, and now handled by Corrigan Lewis of our office. DRLC is representing protesters with various disabilities, trying to hold the city of Portland and the county of Multnomah accountable for essentially failing to accommodate protesters who are trying to peacefully protest and disperse, and denying them effective communication, separating them from service animals, separating them from sighted guides, and generally having no policies and procedures in place that protect the rights of protesters with disabilities. So this case is pending. We are hopeful that we're going to push the law on this and get a ruling that allows people with disabilities to protest and exercise their First Amendment rights without suffering discrimination at the same time. So many of us use app-based transportation services, or at least used to, and really took them for granted. And one of our clients, however, used one of these services to travel in between cities to visit family, and on numerous occasions could not get wheelchair accessible transportation, or was stranded inside the bus or at a location where he couldn't get home. So we brought suit with the fantastic help of the Strzok law firm and achieved tremendous settlement results on behalf of this client, changing the policies of the company, one of their contractors, as well as staff education and training on how to work with people who use wheelchairs. One of the highlights of the year, and one of, honestly, my proudest moments for our team and the litigation team of CL versus Del Amo Hospital, the Ninth Circuit issued a published decision confirming the rights of people with psychiatric disabilities who use service animals. And the decision held that a person with a disability does not need to formally certify their dog to be a service dog. That the Congress and the executive branch have made clear that people with disabilities have the right to train their own service animals, train them properly to do work and other tasks in service of their disabilities. And the reason for that is because it's expensive to train dogs. And our public policy is to support people in independence, in succeeding in their lives by having service dogs assist them, whether it's for manual tasks or it's in service of psychiatric disabilities, such as our clients, who essentially her service dog changed her life and transformed her from a person who would not go out in public to a person who now works and is unafraid to go out in public because of her dog. So CL versus Del Amo was a huge published decision, first of its kind in the nation, and DRLC, continues to push the law in favor of people with disabilities and their rights and their ability to live independently in this world. Just want to take a moment to sincerely thank the intrepid staff of the litigation project at DRLC, Alexandra Robertson, Corrigan Lewis, Julie Stromberg, senior staff attorneys, Erica Cervantes, our law fellow from Loyola Law School, Norma Montano and Leslie Rouse, our incredible administrative assistants. Honestly, the whole staff at DRLC, but I want to sincerely thank my litigation staff. They've worked so hard and gone through so much over the past year or two and achieved fantastic results for our clients. Thank you all for the work that you do on behalf of people with disabilities. I appreciate you every single day. Thank you so much.
Up next, we wanted to recognize a special individual for one of our next 2021 awardees for this year's FDR dinner. And in particular, REUBEN DODD is that individual. He was an actor in the movie I Still Believe. And this young man has been really inspiring to me as somebody that has been involved and committed to ensuring that people with disabilities are part of the communications and they are part of our society, that they are seen, that they are included, that they are heard. All those are really critical and important parts of encouraging and finding ways to make sure that access and inclusion are at the forefronts of everybody's minds when we're thinking about what's happening with disabilities. And so there isn't anything more inspiring to me than a young, committed actor who is a person with a disability that's willing to get out there, to be part of the industry out here in California, to be committed to that, and to share a little bit of his inspiration and who he cares about. And so REUBEN's going to talk a little bit about soccer, but we want to also recognize, in his upcoming inspiration that the AYSO is really committed to individuals with disabilities. They've got a special subset section that serves people with disabilities. And so REUBEN is extra special to us, not only because he's part of the conversation of encouraging people with disabilities to get into entertainment and get into Hollywood, but also to recognize some of our other partners who have been amazing in this space. So I give you REUBEN DODD, one of our awardees this year at the 2021 FDR dinner.
Hi, I'm REUBEN DODD here. Thank you for giving me the award. And the person who has inspired me is my soccer coach, Eddie, from AYSO VIP Soccer. And he always falls over when I try to foul him, and he sometimes even gives me a red card. And so he's really inspired me to play sports and do things in general. And what I hope for in the future is to become a better actor and better soccer player. And yeah.
It's always so energizing to hear comments like that from actors like REUBEN. It's tremendous to hear. It's great to hear that he's committed to getting better at soccer. Hopefully you'll be able to clean up those red cards, REUBEN, and we'll be able to move forward. But next I want to, you've heard from our litigation team, and you've heard why they feel like it's been an important step in the process of all that we've been doing this upcoming year. And so next I want to turn it over to the directors of the Cancer Legal Resource Center to give us and introduce themselves and give us a quick update on some of the highlights of what they think has been going on in 2021 at the CLRC as well.
Cancer didn't stop during COVID, and neither did the CLRC. I'm so proud that the CLRC continued helping people affected by cancer all across the country for free. We helped people with legal issues ranging from advanced planning to Social Security and so much more. When we counted up the number of registered people for our live webinars, plus the people who watched the videos after, we reached more than 1,150 people. And this year isn't even over yet. This year, the CLRC's webinars were supported by a grant from the Tower Cancer Research Foundation and a grant from SCHWERIN. We are grateful to our professional panel of volunteer attorneys. Your support truly makes a difference.
Thank you all for joining us today. I wanted to share a few things that made me proud of the CLRC in 2021. I'm proud that we have continued to support so many people affected by cancer through our National Telephone Assistance Line. Despite the challenges of the past year, we continue to field calls and online submissions regarding a wide array of cancer-related legal issues. We're often one of the few organizations to call someone back, and our callers have been extremely grateful for it, along with receiving the critical legal information and resources that they seek from the CLRC. In 2021, we continue to reach newly diagnosed cancer patients, survivors, their loved ones, and even the occasional friendly neighbor. I'm also proud of all the work contributed by our volunteers and law clerks this year that have helped us further CLRC's and DRLC's mission and reach even more individuals affected by cancer. Thank you again for joining us, and thank you for your support.
It's really humbling to me to think about the diversity of the work that is happening right now at the DRLC. We've heard from our litigation team who's doing amazing work in special ed, doing work for service animals, doing work for people that need to or have access to being able to access sports games and have equal access and seating in those places. We've heard about protest cases, and we just heard about the Cancer Legal Resource Center. And it's tremendous for me to think about the widespread, amazing impact of this organization. If you haven't had a chance to today, I'd really encourage you to please make a contribution. It makes a significant difference. During 2021, we had major court closures. We, as Chris mentioned in his speech, we had to change the way we did things. We had to change the way we implemented things. We had to change the timeline and the work. And so any of your contributions are heartfelt and meaningfully accepted. They will go to support people with disabilities. We truly appreciate all of you who have already made contributions tonight, as you can see here on the side of the screen. So feel free to click that sparkly donate button at the top, just to the side of my head. I think it's that way, or it might be that way. We'd be honored to take your contribution, and we'd be honored to use that in the fight for people with disabilities.
The Chuck Siegel President's Award is presented annually in memory of my former law partner, Chuck Siegel, who was a two-time president of this organization and a fearless champion for people with disabilities.
So I want to take a chance to recognize our next awardee, which is a great film that was featured recently on the opening night of the Real Abilities Film Festival in 2019. If you haven't heard of Real Abilities, it's a film festival that features films that have actors, writers, and others that are involved with them but specifically highlight are written by, are inclusive of people with disabilities. It's amazing film festival. It's been held in person here a few times in LA. They've moved to remote recently, but our hope is that they will be back and that we will be able to continue to promote them, continue to promote the amazing work. But one of my favorite moments was getting a chance to see The Peanut Butter Falcon, which was a film that was featured in 2019. It's a movie that everybody's got to see. It's a fun story. It's a challenging story, but it includes an amazing actor, ZACK, who is here tonight to accept an award on behalf of The Peanut Butter Falcon, as well as Ron Yerxa, who is one of the producers of the film as well. So please welcome ZACK and Ron in tonight to accept the award in 2021.
I am delighted to receive award from the DRLC. Knowledge of my work, the entertainment of industry. I know many talented people receive of the awards. I'm truly honored to be in this company. It is very important, included people, disabilities in the story tell. And I want to thank DRLC for other parts. Raising awareness, celebrating inclusion, making the Peanut Butter Falcon highlight of my career. Give me many opportunities. I hope the whole world and the other people, disabilities, represent ourselves on screening, making great contribution. Thank you. I am truly honored.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Ron Yerxa, and along with my producing partner, Albert Berger, we're very pleased to be acknowledged tonight by the DRLC. Making Peanut Butter Falcon was a great peak experience for us. All the more be it that people really enjoyed the film. And that was partly because it was a comedy and had a life-affirming message, but I think the biggest factor was it felt authentic and real. So that's a great direction for us to go, for Hollywood to go, is to acknowledge the rich diversity of people's lives and then portray them authentically. So thank you, thanks to ZACK and our fellow filmmakers on Peanut Butter Falcon, and to the DRLC for giving us this acknowledgement tonight. Thanks a lot.
I've personally heard from ZACK before at that same Real Abilities event, and he's just an amazing spirit. His personality is uplifting. His smile. There is very little about ZACK that will not leave you feeling warm inside once you've met him. And we're really honored to recognize the Peanut Butter Falcon this year as one of our 2021 awardees. So as we wrap up this evening, I want to turn it back over to our Director of Litigation, who wants to give a quick shout out and thank you to some other staff and volunteers tonight that have done some amazing work for the DRLC.
Just want to take a moment to thank our volunteers and law clerks. We seek to be a premier litigation experience for folks that are looking for experience in civil rights litigation, law students who are seeing what the world of law and litigation are all about, baby. And we really, really thrive on teaching the law and the litigation process to our volunteers and clerks. We had a fantastic year with folks like Safet Bashen, Diego Rangel, Srivat Shankar, Ansley Clark, Christina Hale Nardi, Marcy McCall. All of you have been wonderful. You've been so helpful. And, we welcome volunteers and clerks throughout the year. Bring it on.
Thanks for ensuring that we recognized everybody that has been a part of who has helped us. As Chris mentioned, we need all the support we can get. We can use all the hands that are willing to join us and be part of what we're doing. And we're honored to have anybody's support. He mentioned pro bono support earlier this evening. We're honored to have that as well. And so, as we continue to move forward in this year, we want to just take a moment to thank all of our sponsors that have been part of supporting us this evening. That includes Edison, Munger, Tolson Olson, Gilead, Jackson Lewis, the Atlas Service Animals, Cancer and Cancer, NBC Universal, Latham and Watkins, Pillsbury as well. All of our sponsors are a huge part of ensuring that the DRLC continues our work. It has been an incredibly challenging 2020 and 2021. Chris has mentioned that it changed the way we do things, changed the way we've had to approach things. Your support in all of these instances goes such a long way in helping ensure that the DRLC continues to think creatively and constructively about how we can be on the cutting edge of disability rights law, how we can be inclusive and serve and help more people. And so I want to thank all of our sponsors, and I want to thank our board of directors. They have been tremendous during this time. It's been a challenging time, but their leadership has been significant in doing outreach around getting support from our pro bono members, from getting monetary support and more. Without them, we wouldn't be what we are. And Chris mentioned this earlier, but I would be remiss not to repeat it. Our staff has just been incredible during this time. As we have had to move remote, they've really stepped up. They've embraced the change, the challenges, everything that comes with all those parts and processes of what we've been asked to do during this time and during COVID. And they've done that with the recognition that people with disabilities have been more at risk during this pandemic, and that there's more that they may be exposed to and more that they may be risking in that process. And so it would be impossible for me to take a moment here and not thank everybody on our staff, everybody that's done part of that work, everyone that's been a sponsor, everyone that's been a pro bono supporter of ours. It all makes a difference, and it's all a big part in our battle for people with disabilities to create more access and create more inclusion. And so in those closing remarks, I also thank all of you that are watching here today, that have been involved, that are making sure that you're watching shows and movies, just like the ones we mentioned tonight, that are authentic, that include people with disabilities, and that are inclusive. You are a big part of our success, a big part of what we have accomplished and will continue to accomplish. We appreciate you, and we appreciate your time this afternoon. And we wish everyone the best. Happy holidays and a happy new year as we head into 2022.